Ah. L'absurdité? Vices.
But what of online information? To many, it is so new that it is treated as a novelty. To others, it is a mysterious unknown, more to be held in awe, or perhaps contempt, than used. Hello, I'm the Absurdist, and right now, I'm going to talk to you about on memes. Now, I think memes are very interesting when viewed kind of not even philosophically as kind of a cultural medium, but kind of more as one of the ways I look at them, and something that's very interesting to me personally is the compression of information and the compression of language, which, you know, a lot there's this great meme about like, oh, language is becoming so simple because, you know, people were taking stuff down on, you know, like the emoticon language that was coming up with texting, and especially with, like, you know, the key 9, where it was, you know, kind of good to have shortcuts to type things where it took, you know, 3 times as much work to type anything. And but, you know, then there's the new with whomstead of be, and, you know, all that kind of crazy stuff. But I think that one of the interesting things is kind of these inclusive zones that memes create, that you have to have a base knowledge first of the memes, which can be their own kind of the normie spectrum of like things that people understand, like beyond pre-ironic memes with like impact text and other things. You know, and you have to understand this meme, and it'll come into, and then people will convert it into their own thing to convey their own information. Because I think it really shores up this information in short ways, and you can learn concepts very quickly through this. Like, again, one of my main interests was philosophy meme pages, which I thought were kind of great, and I actually think I learned a lot, even if it was summed up in some ways, because it really compresses information down into these meme formats, which it used to that advantage to display these concepts of philosophy and other stuff, which is probably looking into some ways of making it easy to understand. And I don't know how many times there was things that I just had to look up because there was some kind of meme that I didn't understand, and I was like, oh, I want to understand. Now, you know, it's not great to, you know, admit that you don't know anything, but there were some things that I didn't understand. You know, there is the, you know, yeah, because it can greatly compress these, like, very large concepts into a very small thing that we understand culturally. And this is part of the thing, is that there's some base understanding that you have to have of the meme for it to correctly work and function. Because one of the things I think that memes could be used in some maybe altered form, and obviously not an ironic internet meme, is education, because you can really compress, again, these topics down, and also making people want to know how the meme works can greatly expand. Because one of the things I'm also kind of into as a side thing is like mathematics memes, mathematical mathematics memes, amongst other things. And, you know, it's taught me a lot about this kind of math concepts by putting them in ways of memes, and then making me think about how they relate to each other to make this meme work, which is, I think, one of the more interesting things you get out of this really compression of information, because it makes it much easier, and, you know, it breaks it down in such a way that, like, through a simple meme or the trolley problem meme, you can see some ethics, or Schopenhauer's natalism, you know, other things like that can be expressed simply, and you understand that, and you can just put a few tags, almost like a political cartoon, and most people can understand that maybe to some extent, which I think is kind of one of the crazy things. Because I think what you can do is you can take these leaps and bounds that you kind of have to do to kind of go your body without organs, right? You go beyond and into these, like, supererogatory leaps into things. Because one of the things I've found interesting from a literary perspective is to take the ideas of some of these things that are like concepts of literary devices and stuff, and just take what you know of them, not having even read of them, which is the long form version of knowing these things, and taking them and applying them, and, you know, taking them out. Like, you know, if you've heard of Joyce and his stream of consciousness with, like, long sentences, or, you know, sometimes really long sentences, and then you apply that in your own way, and then you make something new, and you've already just taken the leap past that. You know, I think it's one of the ways that in the future, if we really want to streamline our education something that's maybe not memes, but based in kind of the ideals of memes and the way that that works as a compression of information and transferring data in a human way, that we can make people smarter, faster, and have them learn concepts easier. And how that is, I'm not sure. I'm not an education expert, but I think it's possible through somewhat maybe of a similar way, and I don't know how that would manifest itself. But that's one of the biggest things that I think memes can probably do from my perspective, and what I kind of find interesting about memes and memetics and memology, you know, is that it can really work as a tool for compressing information down into, you know, just a JPEG, basically, you know, like a pictograph, essentially. Maybe it doesn't have that much, and usually memes are accompanied by a text that makes it even funnier. And you can transfer, you know, with maybe what's 15 words overall, like a whole book's worth of theory, you know, to educate someone. So I think it's a really interesting way that we can just, because I think in the future education will have to be streamlined, maybe not at an elementary stage, but at some point, so we can go past what these simple roadblocks to learning are, and then, you know, go on to larger things, kind of, you know, this Oberman kind of thing that we go to. And I think this is one way, you know, like kind of what Deleuze talked about, like going beyond human limits, and also Nietzsche, you know, that I think this is one of the ways that we might get there in information-wise, at least. Because I know that there's probably a few philosophical topics that I only know well enough through memes, honestly, and not necessarily through my own observation. Or sometimes I knew it through the meme and then went back and learned more about it. I'm like, well, the meme summed it up anyways, you know. But that's just my opinion and my thoughts on memes. And remember, existence is futile unless you strive to make it otherwise. Call myself the absurdist, I guess. I was more fuck you man, cunt, shit, fuck.